Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Gannon, alongside my partner, Jack and Nicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. If you have the chance, go check out our website, justsayingfootball.com. Follow us on Instagram at JustSayingNoGWJS for article and video updates. And don't forget to check us out on Spotify and get us in your ears at Just Saying Football. Rough week 9 for you, my friend. Daniel Jones out for the season.
Yeah, he's out, and obviously not great. Took the Giants banner for this one, got it, and they're not going to have any better luck if you want to take us right into this. But I was going to say everyone had pretty bad luck, except if you bet with Shawnzy last week, who only missed 3 games.
Got the Vikings in there. You lucked out. Josh Dobbs did what he had to do. Really quick before we jump into it, teams on a bye: Kansas City Chiefs, Miami Dolphins, Philadelphia Eagles, and Los Angeles Rams. So a ton of fantasy talent. In week 10 not available. Let's jump right into this. We have our blowout category. When your New York Giants make their way to Dallas to take on the Cowboys, Dallas is favored in this by minus 16.5. Over under here 30.5. Obviously, Daniel Jones again out for the year with torn ACL. We're both locking in the Cowboys. Anything you want to say about this game? Obviously, the Cowboys coming off a pretty good game against the Eagles.
Yeah, we saw what the Cowboys were able to do to Danny Dimes in our house week 1 with Tommy DeVito. It's not going to be any different. I feel like it's going to be a blowout in Dallas this weekend. 16.5 spread. That shows you right there.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough one. I will say I saw one report about Brian Dable on the hot seat. Get that report out of here. That's some BS. It's only been 2 years and he's coming off coach of the year.
2 very different seasons.
Yeah, it's way too soon. Joe Schoen and him had a good thing going. I say you gotta give it more than 2 years. But let's move this right along because we have another New York team. New York Jets making their way to Las Vegas, take on the Raiders. The Jets are favored in this one by -1, over under here of 36.5. Now you're probably wondering why it's in your blowout category. It's -1. It's because this game is our Sunday night football, and it's absolutely disgusting, this matchup. But the Raiders, they played great in their first game under Alec Pierce.
Antonio Pierce came in, and he stepped up. Obviously, the Giants were beat up last week, but I think they're at home this week. They get to have a real chance to, they're only favored by 1. I think they're actually underdogs in this one. The Jets are favored by 1. I see the Raiders pass rush getting to Zach Wilson a little bit more than the Jets pass rush getting to Aiden O'Connell. I think it's going to be a really rough day for both quarterbacks, but I'm going with the Raiders.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with the Raiders. That was a really good game they put together last week, surprisingly. No, I'm sorry, buddy. It came at the expense of the Giants, but it's just not what we had expected at all. The problem with the Jets is the same problem as always. That offense just can't get going. Zach Wilson was not aware of the pressure around him. 8 sacks last week. The Jets defense got 5 also against Justin Herbert. So let's see. But I also like the Raiders. Let's move this along into our last game of the blowout categories. We have the Washington Commanders making their way to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. Seattle played this one -6, over under here of 45.5. Now we're both locking in the Seahawks for this one. They're obviously coming off of a brutal loss to the Ravens.
So, one team's coming off a brutal loss. One team's coming off like a nice win against a bad team. And I kind of like the team coming off the brutal loss. Seattle's at home, tough place to play. They're favored by 6 for a reason. They definitely want to bounce back after, that kind of contender test against Baltimore last week. I think that Seattle's got this one. They have all the pieces. They just got to get it done. This is a get-right matchup for them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm also locking in Seattle. Washington had a great game last week, and it was surprising, I think, for a lot of people to see them win, considering that they traded away 2 of their first rounders and 2 great players on the defensive line. But they were playing the Patriots, so they were able to walk away with something. I don't think that's going to be the same case. This is a much better Seattle team, and they have something that they're fighting for in this one in front of their home team. All right, or home fans, I should say. Let's keep this moving along into our meh category. This is not a great game as well. We got the Indianapolis Colts making their way to New England to take on the Patriots. Indianapolis is by -1.5, over under here of 43.5. Now, really quick, this game is also going to be in Deutschland. This game is happening in Germany at 9:30 a.m. on Sunday, so get ready for that. Back-to-back Germany games. Josh Downs was down last week. How are you feeling in this one?
I think the Colts just have to do what they've been doing and utilizing just a little bit of everybody for Gardner Minshew, using Jonathan Taylor as well as they can. The Patriots have been pretty underwhelming with their backfield with Ramondre Stevenson, who we thought was going to be really good this year. But in Deutschland, I think anything can happen. International games, give me the Colts, no problem. Their defense has been keeping them in the games all season against good teams, so why not this one?
Look, 2 pick sixes last week against Bryce Young. Clearly, they're doing something right. I'm also going to lock in Indianapolis in this one. I just don't think that the Patriots have it, and with all the injuries that they got, it's just not going to be their season.
Yeah.
And Ramondre Stevenson had a great game, but you take away that 162-yard running touchdown he had, and you're looking at like a 7-15 and nothing game out of him. So
Yeah.
it was a little skewed. All right, let's move this right along because we have the Atlanta Falcons making their way to Arizona to take on the Falcons over under here -1.5. Uh, Falcons coming off a brutal loss to Josh Dobbs and the Vikings. Arizona, though, will have Kyler Murray and potentially James Conner. That's still up in the air. How are you feeling? Tune wasn't it last week for them.
Definitely not huge. Obviously we've talked about the Browns defense, but what they did to the Cardinals last week was just dismantling them. They're going to look totally different under Kyler Murray, and as they start to get James Conner back. Atlanta, they just can't stop committing turnovers in games that matter to me. I think that, it's frustrating for all their players, not being utilized. You see a guy like Jonnu Smith getting out there last week when you don't really expect much out of him. Easy one for me. I'm going to go with the Falcons just because of that, because it's hard to predict them. And the Cardinals, we just know they're going to be working their way back in the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to go with the Falcons.
I'm going to lock in the Cardinals in this one. That Falcons loss last week has me a little bit worried. I do think Tyler Haneke is an improvement over Desmond Ridder. He gets the ball a little bit faster. He understands the pocket a little bit more, and he's more of a veteran. You can see it in how he's playing the game. And they played really well last week in some parts of it, except towards the end there.
Mm-hmm.
And that has me a little bit worried, but I like what Kyler can do for this team. Cardinals, they just play better when Kyler's around. Without him, we see what they are. And this season's a good sample size. It wasn't all on Josh Dobbs. The defense was making mistakes, et cetera, injuries as well. But I do think that this is a good opportunity for them. This is a very weak Falcons team. They have the home crowd. They got Kyler back. Got a lot of things going for you. I think this is an area where they could and will notch their second win of the season. But let's move this right along. So the New Orleans Saints making their way to Minnesota to take on my Vikings. Over under here of 41. Saints are favoring this one -2.5. Chris Olave found the end zone last week.
Finally. You never really know what's going to be happening with the Saints week by week. Is it going to be Taysom Hill or Rashid Shaheed kind of taking away targets from Michael Thomas and Chris Olave? This is going to be interesting as, we see your guy Justin Jefferson kind of coming back, 21-day window. If he was in this, I'd be taking Minnesota, no problem. Jordan Addison versus Marshawn Lattimore is going to be really interesting. Give me the Saints, though. Their defense right now. We saw Dobbs kind of come in, flash of the pan performance. Just kind of coming out of nowhere, no disrespect to him, but out of nowhere, that he comes in and the Falcons aren't really prepared for him. Now New Orleans is going to have a nice week to prepare specifically for him. I think that they could take this one on the road.
Yeah, I'm liking the Vikings in this one, and it has less to do with last week. And like you're right. I mean, that was such a surprise game for everyone. It was a storyline all week. Everyone's been talking about it. But really, what I think it speaks to is the coaching staff, what Kevin O'Connell's putting together. Defense stood up last week in like a lot of big ways. Our offensive guys were also stepping up. We had this next man mentality. I don't think people really understand. We're down our wide receiver 1. We're down our quarterback 1. We're down our quarterback 2. We're down our quarterback 3 now to this point. We're down to our quarterback 4. Our running back 2 is out for the season now in the middle of this game. Our left tackle 1 is out in this game. Our wide receiver 3 goes down in this game. Like, we had so many things that just went wrong, and everyone
put it
has
on a
stood
list
up.
like that. It's crazy.
I know, and everyone has stood up, and for me, I like that mentality. I think that's a good mentality. I think the Saints are very beatable. Like, what Saints are we going to get? Are we going to get the 40-point Saints? We're going to get the 10-point Saints.
Yeah,
and I'm hoping we get the 10-point Saints.
I'm hoping we get the 40-point Saints.
I feel that, and so are a lot of Alvin Kamara fantasy owners out there. So I respect that. Let's keep this moving along. So we have 2 historic franchises going up against one another. When the Green Bay Packers make their way to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Steelers are favoring this one by -3, over under here of 38.5. What are your thoughts on this game? Steelers coming off of a pretty big win against Thursday Night Football. Packers also coming off of a big win.
Yeah, I think the Steelers having this long week is going to be huge for them. We've seen them come up against opponents that we didn't really expect to for them to win, or they really are good this year at making opponents make mistakes. Jordan Love, as of late, we've been talking about it the last couple of weeks. Nobody's been making more mistakes than him the last couple of weeks. So we really got to ride on that. I'm going to take the Steelers at home. I think that it's, -3 as well for me is easy. I think if they can get running the way they were last week with Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, they can really get things done. And, I read something the other day about Kenny Pickett. He may not be great, but he's definitely a winner. So, give me the Steelers at home.
I absolutely like it. I'm totally agreeing with you. I'm going to lock in the Steelers. For me, I think it's just about the defense. The first half, Packers are just awful. Statistically, it is just so not fun to watch them play at all. And they're significantly better in the second half. But the way the Steelers defense is, I just think that they can lock them down the entire game. Christian Watson hasn't really been there. Remember, Dobbs has been there. Aaron Jones has been hit and miss. Jordan Love has been inconsistent after week 3. Which I'm loving all of this after years of getting dominated by them. Don't get me wrong, but to me, I think that the Steelers can do just enough offensively. It's not sexy offensively, but they do just enough, especially when they audible out of Matt Canada's play calls. But that defense, man, I'll take that defense over most defenses, except maybe the 49ers when they're feeling themselves. You know what I mean?
They're on that, yeah.
But to me, it's like Steelers and 49ers are right up there, and I like them to take down the Packers in this one, just from a defensive standpoint.
I like that. And for the next game, how you feeling? Because we got 2 quarterbacks that you don't really, we don't really talk about too much, and teams don't really like talking about too much.
I know we got Tennessee Titans making their way to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. Tampa Bay's saving this by -1.5, over on here 38.5. Will Levis is going to be the starter going forward. Ryan Tannehill will be benched according to Averill. How you feeling about this? I mean, Buccaneers just gave up a historic game to CJ Stroud, and now they're facing another rookie.
I know, and we've seen, Will Levis just a couple weeks ago go off in this first game. Tampa, is kind of getting prone to this big performances from the quarterbacks. Give me the Titans in this one. I think that they're finally starting to get their groove. They've had a long week to prepare for this one, coming off of the loss. So, give me, the Titans, offense with Derrick Henry and DeAndre Hopkins running behind Will Levis. I think that that's really what the formula that they're going to be going with all season. It's what we expect, but they can still do a lot with that. So give me them on the road, no problem.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity for the Titans to walk away with a win in this one in like a high scoring game. I'll take the over here, 38.5 comfortably. And I'm also with you. I'm with the Titans on this one. I'm spot starting Baker Mayfield. I have Patrick Mahomes in the league, so I'm putting Baker out this week because I think that the Titans are a defense that they can pass on with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, Kate Otten getting involved, and even Rachaad White out of the running back position. So I do like Baker Mayfield if you need to do a spot start like me. But I like the Titans to win this one. Like you're saying, I just think that there's a way for them to drain the clock, keep the offense out on the field for long periods of time for them, running through Derrick Henry. And let's see Will Levis. I think that they're not afraid to open it up a little bit. He made that last-minute mistake against the Steelers last week, but he rushed it. He's a rookie, and hopefully you can get over that. But I think this is a great opportunity for him to maybe show up and show out. And again, Tampa Bay is coming off of a brutal loss last week, 46 seconds left, and they lost the game.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have even known that they kept themselves in it.
No. You wouldn't have even known. All right, let's move this into our games of the week categories. We have a handful in this one, starting off with the Cleveland Browns making their way to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Baltimore's favored in this one by -6, over under here of 38.5. The Browns shut down the Cardinals last week, did not give up any points, and the Ravens shut down the Seahawks. I mean, this is a battle of 2 fantastic defenses. And how are you thinking about this one? What are you thinking going into this?
Yeah, I mean, with this one, it's a divisional matchup. We got to see these guys face off, just a little bit ago in week 4. Lamar kind of had 2 touchdowns to Mark Andrews. They went off. And I think that it's just time for us to see that, this Ravens offense has finally clicked. We lost J.K. Dobbins in the beginning of the year. We didn't know if it was Gus Edwards or Justice Hill. Now it's Keontae Mitchell. So it could be anything. It could be anything with them. I think the Browns defense is a really big problem. To me, it's just like you're a big problem. Genuinely, I think, they have done nothing but destroy offenses this year. This is the one offense I think that can get around them. So give me Baltimore at home. We saw what they did to Seattle when they were at home last week. I could just see them running all over this defense this week.
Yeah, I'm also going to lock in the Ravens. They're just playing so well right now. They're looking like one of the top teams in the AFC that are not getting talked about enough. A top 10 offense, top 10 defense. By the way, currently the entire AFC North is in the playoffs. If the playoffs
Yeah,
ended right now, everyone in there has made it. So
maybe a
there's a lot.
playoff preview.
Yeah, honestly, it might be. And with the way that these teams are all playing in their division, these games become so crucial. These in
Yeah,
division games, you got to win these ones. And I think the Ravens are playing for a lot. We saw Roquan Smith come out this week speaking to Chicago, being like, "Man, I'm just happy I didn't waste my career when I was there. They're not, they're not wasting me out there." So players are playing for a lot. A lot of people didn't expect the Ravens even to be good, and they're playing fantastic right now. But let's move us into our next game of the week. So we have the Houston Texans making their way to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Cincinnati's favored this by -6.5, over under here 47. The reason why we got to put in here is because
yeah,
CJ Stroud is him. All right. 470 yards in the air, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, four separate receivers with over 100 yards. These are, I mean, this was the single greatest rookie performance in NFL history. That's the kind of performance that this was. It was absolutely incredible. That's why this isn't the game of the week this week. Because CJ Stroud said, I might be a rookie, but god damn it, I'm playing like a vet.
yeah, I agree. And now I got to say, this is finally a good challenge. We just talked about the Buccaneers and how they're very shaky. You're playing Cincinnati while they're playing this hot. Joe Burrow right now is back. I talked about it last week, how he had 43 rushing yards a week before, and we're starting to see this trend. They're on a hot streak right now. I believe they won 5 straight games. It's hard to get them stopped over the last couple of years when they're this hot. So, give me Cincinnati at home with or without Jamar Chase, who didn't practice, at all on Wednesday. So that's obviously concerning. We have to kind of wait till the Friday injury report comes with that. But I will say, I feel like, this is such a great matchup. It's a 47 over under. Like, give me the over and just let me watch it go up.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm also locking the Bengals. I just had to hype up the Texans because
of course
they found their franchise guy. They're looking great. I think the Panthers might be, a little pissed off right now with the performances, but we'll see what the future holds. A lot of time still left. No one's a bust yet. But the thing to me that has really stood out about this Bengal teams is Joe Burrow. Despite, I agree with you. I think when Jamar Chase, they can still win. For me, first 4 weeks, 57% completion, 728 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It was bad. It wasn't pretty. It just really wasn't good. Since then, 77.3% completion, 1,133 yards, and a 10-2 touchdown interception ratio. A complete and total shift in this entire team, and it's been evident by the way that their win streak is. Like you just said, 5 games. They handed a fat L to the Bills easily, right? Beating them once again. And I'm not going to go against them this week. I'm locking in the Bengals as well. And also, by the way, I will take the over here at 47. I think that this Texans team can score. I think that we can't necessarily sleep on them to put up 20 points on you, especially if your defense is caught slacking. We saw it last week, 46 seconds, 0 timeouts. It doesn't matter to CJ Stroud.
Yeah, no, I think that you're right. This is going to be a high scoring game, a lot of fantasy implications. The bye weeks be damned. There's going to be some good stuff in here.
Absolutely. Let's move this right along into our next team. So the San Francisco 49ers making their way to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. San Francisco's favored in this by -3, over under here 45.5. 49ers coming off of the bye week. They also got Chase Young in the trade mentioned, I think in our last episode. So this will be the first time they're going to see him out there in the silver and gold. Silver and gold? No, golden red. Golden red. Don't know why I said silver. Well, I do know why. Silver and gold always goes so well together. But in the golden red with his former teammate Nick Bosa. Who are you feeling in this game? You think the Jaguars got a chance, or the 49ers going to get back on track after the 3-game skid?
Yeah, so I have to say I do see the Niners taking an L in this one in Jacksonville. Jacksonville has been a dirty team. They're making guys just they're making basically quarterbacks just make the worst mistakes, and they're playing to their opponent. I think San Francisco isn't going to be that team that scores the 30 points we've seen the last couple of years. We're kind of seeing them score more around 20, and I think that Jacksonville can really hold them to under that. Jacksonville right now has the 8th best defense in scoring, the 3rd best rushing defense, only allowing about 79 yards a game, which could really stop McCaffrey or open up the 49ers. You never really know with them. I will say, I'm loving how Trevor Lawrence is playing. Like I said with the Bengals. Jacksonville, another team on a win streak. I think that they continue that this week as well. I'm loving what they're doing, spreading the ball out. Everybody's getting involved. And Travis Etienne, he literally could be leading the league in rushing yards by the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, he's been playing great. We haven't seen much of Tank to Bank Bisbee, which I've been savage just because ATN's been playing so well.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the 49ers in this one. They got the 3-game skid. There's been a lot of the stat lines coming out about Kyle Shanahan. If he's down 6 points, he's like 1-30 in his career as the head coach of the 49ers. If he's not leading in the fourth quarter, he's like 0-37. And these are stat lines that, people are digging deep to find and that kind of stuff. So you take them with the grain of salt, but these storylines come out, 3-game skid, they lose the division lead, question marks begin to happen. They go out, they make this Chase Young trade, 27th going up against the 27th ranked going against the quarterback. They're not getting the sacks the way that they once were. I think this was a move in the right direction. This defense is terrifying. I think this offense is going to finally put together a pretty good game. I think this is a game for them to get back on track. Always lock in a CMC anytime touchdown on your bets. He still has a streak going. So keep that one wide open. Also, Deebo Samuel's back in this one. And I think that they have really missed having him in it. He's not a gadget guy. The gadget doesn't do him justice. He just does so well running the ball, receiving the ball. And when he's out, you can see that they're missing him. And hopefully this opens up a little bit more for Kittle this week as well. Defenses have been able to sort of read them. We saw the Vikings hit a surprise win. I think this is a get-right game for the 49ers. And the Jaguars have been riding high on their win streak. It's time that they come back to earth for a second.
I like that.
All right?
I love our oppositions today.
I know. Let's move us into our last one because we have the Detroit Lions making their way to LA to take on the Chargers. Detroit is favored in this by -3, over-under here of 48.5. The Chargers defense stepped up last week, 2 fumble recoveries, 8 sacks. They were all over the Jets offense. How are you feeling in this one? The Lions have a much better offensive line, arguably a better receiving core. How are you feeling in this one?
Yeah, it's going to be Amon-Ra and, Keenan Allen show. It's going to be, David Montgomery is going to be back in this one, I'm hearing, especially with him and Gibbs. It's going to be the first time you can kind of see them since they've been getting Gibbs involved. And Eckler, the last couple of weeks after injury, he's looked healthy. He's been looking great. So there's a lot of great offensive weapons here. The D lines, as you mentioned, did a great job last week with the Chargers. Sean got a fantasy win off of me with that defense. They went off. I think that the Chargers, they know that's how they have to play. They need to play on all 3 phases of the ball. But right now, Detroit is kind of playing, they are, to me, the second best team in the NFC behind the Eagles because they just kind of have everything. Every time I say they don't have something, they show me that they do. They have the pass rush, the protection, they have the quarterback. I think that they can make the Chargers make enough mistakes for this to be a real game.
I think for me, with why I'm going to go with the Lions, I don't know. I'm not super quick to say they're the second best team in the NFC. I still think that the 49ers are up there. I put them more in like 3rd, 4th, but I do think this is a very winnable game for them. What we've seen from the Chargers has been like kind of hit and miss. This is not like the Jets defense that locked up them. They did not take a shot after that first quarter deep one to Quentin Johnson. They were like, never mind. Sauce got under that with ease. I'm not even going to try to throw it deep anymore. And we saw just Justin Herbert. It's easy to say Zach Wilson sacked 8 times. Justin Herbert sacked 5 times. It wasn't a great game for the quarterbacks last week. And
you mentioned Quentin Johnson, most route runs on the whole team. He had 2 targets. Why'd you draft this guy in the first round?
It's just been a weird one for me, and that's making me worried about their offense. They are missing Mike Williams right now, and you can see that. And I just think that the way that the Lions are playing is really solid. I do like the over in this one at 48.5. I think that this is going to be less of a defensive game and more of an offensive game, but I trust the Lions when push comes to shove.
I agree. The defensive front sevens are great, but the defensive secondaries for both teams are terrible. I think that, like, you're right. This could be kind of just an offensive game we don't really expect, even though we respect their defenses.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, and hopefully hope we get some good fantasy out of this week because there are a lot of players on bye, and it's it's tough. I'm in an AJ Brown Mahomes situation.
Sean's hitting the waiver wire, and there's not a lot of great people. If you haven't,
there's no one out there. Please, James Conner, come back this week from IR because I need you in my lineup. I just need a running back. But that's all the time that we have. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you everyone for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you guys for sticking with us the last 9 weeks. This is week 10. Season's halfway through. I hope you've been enjoying it. Check us out, Just Saying Football on YouTube, Just Saying with no G, WJS on Instagram for all your updates, and Just Saying Football on YouTube and Spotify. Make sure to get us in your ears. Thank you for watching.
Enjoy.